Mokshada Ekadashi is one of the significant Ekadashis which fall on the 11th lunar day of the fortnight in the waxing moon month of Margashirsha. As the name itself indicates, on this day devotees worship Lord Krishna to get rid of all the sins and to achieve moksha or liberation after death. This Ekadashi is also referred to as Vaikuntha Ekadashi, and it is believed on this day the door to Lord Vishnu's heavenly abode, the Vaikuntha, the dwars, the doors are opened for all. This Ekadashi is celebrated on the same day as Gita Jayanti, the day when Shree Krsna gave the holy sermon of the Bhagavad Gita to the Pandav prince Arjuna, as described in the Hindu Purana of Mahabharata. Therefore, this Ekadashi is very special for these two very reasons. The all auspicious day on which Lord Sri Krishna spoke the Srimad Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra at the place now known as Jyotish Tirtha. It is also said, anyone who gives a Bhagavad Gita away to a deserving person on this day is bestowed with profuse blessings by the Lord Sri Krishna himself. The ancient history of this Ekadashi is related to many Purans. However, the Brahman Puran has a very, very beautiful incident in reference to this, where Yudhishthira Maharaj, King Yudhishthira, after the Mahabharata, asks Krishna, O Vishnu, O Krishna, O Master of all, O delights of the three worlds, O Lord of the entire universe, O Creator of the world, O oldest personality, O best of all beings, I offer my most respectful obeisance unto you, my innermost Danvat Pranam. O Lord of the Lords, for the benefit of all living entities, kindly advise me on the name of the Ekadashi that occurs during the light fortnight in the month of Margashirsha and is said to remove all sins. How can one observe it properly? And which deity is worshipped on that holiest of days? O my Lord, please explain this to me in full. Lord Sri Krishna replied to him, O dear Yudhishthira, Your question is very auspicious in itself, and that will bring you fame. As I previously explained to you about the dearest Utpanna Maha Ekadashi Dwadashi, which occurs during the dark part of the month of Margashirsha, is the day when Ekadashi Devi appeared from my body to kill the demon Mur, which benefits everything animate and inanimate in the all three worlds. So I shall now relate to you regarding this Ekadashi that occurs during the light path of the month of Margashir. This Ekadashi is famous as Mokshada because it purifies the faithful devotees of all sinful reactions and bestows liberation, moksha, upon them. The worshipable deity of this auspicious day is Lord Damodar, and one should, with full attention, worship him with a ghee lamp, incense, fragrant flowers, and tulsi manjaris. O Yudhishthira, as I narrate to you, listen carefully to this ancient and auspicious history of this Ekadashi. Simply by hearing this history, one can attain the merit earned by performing a horse sacrifice. Hellish planets ruled over by Yamraj. The king was overwhelmed with compassion for his father and he shed tears. The next morning, Maharaj Vaikuntha described what he had seen in his dream to his council of twice born learned Brahmins, and he addresses them. O Brahmins, in a dream last night I saw my father suffering on a hellish planet. He was crying out in anguish, O son, please deliver me from this torment of this hellish condition. Now I have no peace in my mind, and even this beautiful kingdom has become unbearable to me. Not even my horses, elephants, and the chariots, with all the vast wealth in my treasury that formerly brought so much pleasure, gives me any pleasure at all. Everything, O best of Brahmins, even my own wife and sons, have become a source of unhappiness since I beheld my father suffering the tortures of that hellish conditions in my dream. Where can I go and what can I do? O Brahmins, please help me alleviate this misery. My body is burning with fear and sorrow. Tell me what kind of charity, what mode of fasting, or what austerity, or deep meditation and service upon which deity I may perform to deliver my father from the agony and bestow liberation to my forefathers. O best of Brahmins, what is the use of one's being a powerful son if one's father must suffer on a hellish planet. Truly, such a son's life is utterly, utterly useless to him and to his forefathers. The Brahmin replied, O king, in the mountainous forest, not far from here is an ashram where a great saint Parvat Muni resides. Please go to him, for he is Trikalgnani. A Trikalgnani is one who knows the past, the present, and the future of everything. Therefore, he was advised to see that Trikalgnani who would help in gaining relief from the miseries. On hearing this advice, the distressed king immediately set out on a journey to the ashram of the famous Parvat Muni. The ashram was indeed very big and housed many learned sages, experts in chanting the sacred hymns of the four Veds, Rigved, Yajurved, Samved, and Atharva Ved. On approaching the holy ashram, the king beheld Parvat Muni seated among the assembly of sages adorned with hundreds of tilaks from all authorized sampradayas, like another Brahma or Vyas Muni. Maharaj Vaikuntha offered his humble obeisance, Danvat Pranam to the Muni, bowing his head and prostrating his entire body before them. After that, the king seated himself among the assembly of the Parvat Muni and asked him about the welfare of the 7 limbs of his extensive kingdom. The 7 limbs are his ministers, his treasury, his military forces, his allies, the Brahmins, and the sacrificial offerings performed, and the needs of his subjects. The Muni also asked him if his kingdom was free of troubles and whether everyone was peaceful, happy, and satisfied. The king replied, By your mercy, O glorious and great sage, all 7 limbs of my kingdom are doing very well. Yet there is a problem that has recently arisen, and I come to you, O Brahman, for your expert help and guidance. Then Parvat Muni, the best of all sages, closed his eyes and meditated on the king's past, present, and future. After a few moments, he opened his eyes and said, Your father is suffering the results of committing a great sin, and I have discovered what it is. In his previous life, he quarreled with his wife and forcibly enjoyed her sexually during her menstrual period. She tried to protest and resist his advances and even yelled out, Someone, please save me. Please, O husband, do not interrupt my monthly period in this way. Still, he did not stop or leave her alone. It is on this account of this grievous sin that your father has now fallen into such a hellish condition of suffering. King Vaikuntha then said, O great among sages, by what process of fasting or charity may I liberate my dear father from such a condition. Please tell me how I can relieve and remove the burden of his sinful reactions, which are a great obstacle to his progress towards ultimate release, salvation, moksha, liberation, going back home. Parvat Muni then replied, during the light fortnight of the month of Margashir, there occurs an Ekadashi called Mokshada. If you observe this sacred Ekadashi strictly with a full fast and give directly to your suffering father the merit of this, you will attain and obtain. He will be freed from his pain and instantly liberated. Hearing this, Maharaj Vaikuntha profusely thanked the great sage and returned to his palace to perform the vrat, the austere rite. O Yudhishthira, when the light part of the month of Margashir has arrived, Maharaj Vaikuntha faithfully waited for the Ekadashi Tithi to arrive, and he perfectly, with full faith, observed the Ekadashi with his wife, children, and other relatives. He dutifully gave the merit from his fast to his father, and as he made the offering, beautiful flower petals showered down from the Devatas who peered out from the clouds in the sky. The king's father was then praised by the messengers of the demigods, the Devatas, and escorted to the celestial region. As he passed his son, he traversed the lower to middle to higher planets. The father said to the king, "My dear son, all auspiciousness unto you." At last he reached the heavenly realm, from where he can again, with his newly acquired merit, perform devotional service to Krishna or Vishnu, and in due course return back home to the final destination. O son of Pandu, whoever strictly observes the sacred Mokshada Ekadashi, following the established rules and regulations, achieves full and perfect liberation after death. There is no better fasting day than this Ekadashi of the light fortnight of the month of Margashir, for it is crystal clear and a sinless day. Shree Krsna says, whoever faithfully observes this Ekadashi fast, which is like a chintamani, a gem that yields all desires, obtains special merit that is very hard to calculate for this day and can elevate one from the hellish regions to heavenly planets. And for one who observes Ekadashi for his own spiritual benefit, this elevates one to go straight back to the ultimate Vaikuntha and never return to this material world. As the Lord Himself talks about this Ekadashi from the Brahmanda Purana. On this day, in certain temples of Lord Vishnu, a door-like structure is made to signify the entrance to Vaikuntha. It is a good omen to pass through this gate. Or some also worship the cow, and pass under the cow on this date, which is highly auspicious. The rituals one has to follow on the eve of Mokshada Ekadashi in order to celebrate this auspicious divine Ekadashi. It is said the observer has to get up early morning and take a shower, and thereafter read the Katha of Mokshada Ekadashi, remembering his ancestors. Devotees offer flowers, sweets, diyas, and naivedya to the deities. They perform the arti ritual in the evening during sunset and distribute sweets among family members and the needy. Since this day also marks the birth of Bhagavad Gita, people involve themselves in reciting the verses from the holy Bhagavad Gita to please Shree Krsna. Lord Vishnu temples are decorated by the devotees, and the special door entrance is also placed there, symbolizing the door to God's abode, Vaikuntha. People enter via this auspicious door, and people offer their prayers to Sri Krishna on this day to achieve blessings for their lives. Auspicious, beautiful, divine Vaikuntha Ekadashi. Chant away Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya on this Mokshada Ekadashi.